Hello, dear friends. I'm Carly Wharton. Welcome back to my porch. Welcome back to my channel. And on this video, I am going to tell a story about getting in my body. When I very first heard the term getting in my body, was probably a couple years ago. And this friend, she was talking about how yada, yada, yada that she did helped her to get in her body. And I just thought that it was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard, because how on earth could you not be exactly how on earth could you not be in your body? Isn't that automatic? Aren't we just in our body? Like, what other option is there? And as I learned what she meant by that, I realized I lived most of my life outside my body. That was kind of my practiced state of being, was to be disconnected from my body, to let my mind, and then later when my spirit came online, to let my spirit kind of into the mix. But my mind and spirit were running the show, and my body was basically getting dragged along behind me, which, if you like really picture that, it's like this momentum of working on my self-care and my vibration and all of that I was doing in the mind spirit space was this powerful force, this powerful engine for good things in my life. Meanwhile, my body, which I'm completely tuned out of, is like this weight that is attached and now being like drug behind this powerful force. And the powerful force is getting more and more powerful. So it's moving itself forward, whether my body is checked in or not. The body, though, is like pulling on this powerful force. So it's slowing it down. Even if it's only a little bit, it's still slowing it down. So being outside of our body, just dragging it along with us, feeding it whatever, not minding the food that we're feeding to ourselves, not moving our body, letting it just kind of sit in one place, which is basically my lifestyle. I'm a very sedentary individual. I also like to call myself an inside cat, because I do spend the bulk majority of my day inside. And that's why these whole like porch talk concept is very interesting, because I've found this little bubble of space where recording these videos is super easy. So I've been using this space to like allow the videos, however many will come out, I'll do it. This is a beautiful spot and it's outside. So it's just very foreign to me to think about like experiencing outside things. And that's probably my biggest tip for getting in your body is bringing it back to your five senses. And that's exactly what I was very tuned out of before. I was like all up in my head, like mentally calculating all the things and learning all the things and knowledge and information and communication and all of this. These are all head things, like feeling my body, I was not. And as I was tuned out of that early on, before I got the mind and spirit, I mean, my system was just like full of garbage on all fronts. And I was so depressed. I was so full of anxiety, social anxiety, that had me so isolated, which only made the depression worse. On and on and on. That was the state of my life. That was my quality of life. And as I, got into my mind with a little bit with meditation, a little bit with studying self-talk and what self-talk is, and like the constant mind chatter that's going on, realizing I was really being mean to myself inside my brain. So I, cut that out. So I kind of got the mind piece a little bit better in line. And then my spirit or emotions, like that piece came online of its own volition. And that really helped a lot to have both of those now working. And my body has like continued to be drug along behind me this whole time. About a year ago, I started working with a life coach so this was about a year after I heard the getting in my body phrase for the first time and thought it was just so stupid, because how are we not in our body? As I listened to her, I realized, oh my goodness, I'm not in my body, and I really don't want to be. I don't want to get in my body. I don't like it in there. It's boring, is most of what it was. Like, it's so much more entertaining to be up in my head about things than it is to be in my body. It's dull in my body. And that was my mindset. And then a year ago, I started working with my life coach, and she teaches or consults from the natal chart. And in my very first session with her, I learned that I am a Taurus rising sign, or the ascendant was in Taurus, 0 degrees actually, at the time of my birth, and that Taurus is a very earthy, sensual sign. And as she's describing this of like connecting with nature and like moving your body and being in harmony with the planet and like all of these things, I'm like boring, 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 boring. Like I didn't want any part of it. Couldn't sell me on it. I basically skipped that part in the natal chart and just like focused on everything else and was like, I just can't go there right now. I just don't want to be in my body. I don't care about that. So that's again how I lived for again the last year. And about 3 weeks ago, the journey to get in my body got real. It got really real. Um, the first step that I would call the turning point was rendezvousing with a video on YouTube. It was like in my suggested news feed or whatever. Um, and it was a show called Fit to Fat to Fit. And this show follows personal trainers in their journey to gain 25 to 30% of their body weight and stop working out for 4 months. And at the 4 month mark, they're that much heavier and have killed their endurance. And now it's time to train and lose weight with their heavy client who's wanting to do this process. And it's supposed to build empathy and compassion within the trainer to like what it's actually like to start from zero and make that transformation to get healthy. It's not as easy as any of them thought, is the, long story short. But watching that video and watching them gaining the weight, I mean, my weight has been up and down and tried all kinds of diets my whole life. And watching them gaining that weight and watching the food that they were eating and what it was doing to their emotions, like the havoc that it was wreaking on their emotions. By 2 months in, every single one of them is like in a pit of depression, and every single one of them. So I'm like, that can't be a fluke thing. The correlation between that crap food, the fast food, donuts, sugar, like all the sugar they can get, and depression, like it just instantly was so clear to me that that junk food causes depression. Maybe not in everybody. Maybe some people's depression comes from something else. I'm not a doctor and I'm not prescribing anything to anybody, just talking about my experience where I go back to the times in my life that were the darkest and I look at my lifestyle choices at that time. I was completely sedentary and I was eating fast food multiple nights a week and stressing myself to the max to achieve. It was different times in my life, so I was doing different things. But basically, I wanted to achieve and I wanted to keep up and I wanted to be valuable because of my achievements. And meanwhile, I was feeding my body full of crap, fast food, quick food, convenience items processed in a little package that you just open and you eat it. I survived on that for my whole life, basically up until like 3 weeks ago when I watched Fit to Fat to Fit, and this all became so crystal clear to me. And the journey of getting in my body went to the next level where I no longer eat fast food. That stopped the first day I watched about 6 episodes of Fit to Fat to Fit season 1. And I don't think I'll ever eat fast food again. I just am disgusted by the thought of it. Watching them binge it and throw it back up because their healthy body won't even accept it as food. Their body puked it back up because this isn't food. This isn't actually food that we can digest. And just because I wasn't puking it back up, it still kills me to think of like what that food was doing to my body that whole time. But all in divine timing, all in perfect timing. I have course corrected. I have turned a corner. Thank you, Fit to Fat to Fit and Drew Manning for your inspiration that led to all of that. He's a super cool guy. Follow him on all of his things. But this elimination of fast food opened my eyes because almost within just a few days, I felt so much better not eating it, for one thing. Because, like, if I'm not eating fast food, I was having to eat at home. I was having to figure out something at home. And just that switch already made me feel so much better. And another week of doing it led me to more and more health documentaries, which this seems to be a season of learning for me. And the more I learn about processed food, the more I don't want to eat it. I just naturally, like, my body doesn't even want to go there. Sugar, grains, anything that is just in a little package where you open it and you eat it probably isn't good, probably isn't really food, is what my body is leading me towards. So, like, the more and more that I get in my body and let my body be a part of my body, mind, and spirit conversation, the more I'm guided to this information that has me eliminating sugar and grains and anything processed, as much processed food as I can take out of my diet. That's my intention. And so I've been doing that for like a week. And again, I feel amazing. I feel better than I ever have energetically. My emotions are more stable than they ever have been in my entire life. And it just like, you know, hindsight is 2020, but it pains me almost to think that I lived with depression and anxiety and not like feeling bloated and like not feeling good overall, just low energy, lethargy, just laying in bed all day, sleeping for 12 hours and then still not feeling good, not feeling like I have energy. Um, I have so much energy. I sleep so much less, so much less than I was. And I have the energy that my body is also calling me to exercise, like actually strenuously exercise. And not because I should, and not because I have a plan about day one, I'm going to do this, and day two. I got none of that. In the moment, my body is like, I would really like to run up that hill right now. I'm like, really, really, you want to run up the hill? Okay, here we go. And we run up the hill. And that is getting in my body, listening to like, what does my body want from me? And what doesn't it want from me? What do I put through my system that makes my system not work right? Like I just was totally checked out of all of that. Just throwing stuff back there, throwing food back there to my body, like, here, you need some food. Here, eat these 6 donuts. You need some food. Here's a couple chalupas. Here, you need some food. Like, here, on and on and on. Like, here's half a pizza. Here's blah blah blah. That was like normal. Like multiple nights a week, that was what I had for supper, was some kind of fast food. And in it, I know I ate dinner enough for 3 people, probably. Um, so it's a combo effect of like awful food and a lot of it in one sitting. So doing that and doing it for so long, I feel like all that keeps coming back to me is all in perfect timing. Like every season has its reason. Every season has its reason. Every season has its reason. My adventure, my journey through the first 33 years of my life being checked out of my body, being like totally disconnected, just dragging it with me wherever I go, not paying any attention to my body. Doing that for, the first 3 decades, it's given me a nice control for my experiment, right? So, it's not a perfect experiment, it's just my life, but I'm always very scientific and I like to look at how, like how does it compare? Like when we make these lifestyle changes, what are the changes? If I change what I eat, what is the overall ripple effect to my health? And what I'm finding is the most shocking, the most delightful surprise in all of this has been my energy levels, like my physical energy to be awake during the day, or at all, just being awake takes a lot of energy, is what I used to think. No, I'm pretty positive now I was killing my energy levels with the food I was putting through my system. That like my body had to spend so much energy to digest the garbage that I was feeding myself, that there was no energy left to be awake. And that's problematic when you're trying to have a job or be productive, like do something, have a legacy. Which is where long way around, my soul brought me to get in my body as the next step of my journey. That's why I feel called. I feel called to get in my body. Like this is a necessary step to whatever it is that my soul wants to do here on this planet. Because the truth of the matter is, non-physical energy is out there and it is powerful, but it's subtle. And most physical beings aren't able to perceive non-physical energy. So being physical has its advantages in terms of growing and evolving as a soul myself and the ripple effects that I'm able to make here on this planet by physically communicating and interacting with other people. So my soul wants to have this gigantic impact. And I've known that my whole life and have been really tuned into it for like 5.5 years now. And my soul and this gigantic impact I want to have has now given me this next step of get in my body, get in there, get in there. And pay attention, pay attention to the body and pay attention to this vehicle. Like even my car needs an oil change every once in a while, and I might put it off for a second, but I know that if I go too long with ignoring those lights, that eventually the car, the engine blows up. Like it's no longer drivable, it's totaled, it's trash. And I was doing the same thing to my body without really consciously being aware of that. And that's really all that's shifted so far. I have a few weeks of eating differently under my belt, but still very new in that regard. But energetically, I have shifted into this place of being in harmony and being in connection with my body and paying attention to what I'm consuming and what I'm asking my system to work on. Lola, yeah, that's a good kitty. That's good kitty, Lola. All in perfect timing, all in divine timing, where one piece naturally leads to the next piece, to the next piece, to the next piece. So getting in my body is just one more piece along the way that for me, these last few weeks has really clicked into place and it has felt transcendent. I cannot even put into words the positive impact I've already experienced by getting in my body. If you found this video helpful, I invite you to like it, comment on it, subscribe to my channel so that you're notified of all my new daily videos. Thank you so much for listening, dear friend. I hope this helps you to get in your body a little bit more, and I would love to hear your experiences of that or any tips and tricks that you have for getting in your body. I'm going to come back with another video that is tips and tricks for getting in your body later on. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much. Until next time, take good care of yourselves, and so will I.